Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a smaller 4-game Major League Baseball slate for you. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? It really does help the channel a lot. I really do appreciate it. Before I get started, let's check out the weather here. So let me pull that up. Let's see here. Uh, doesn't look like we're gonna have any issues on this particular slate, so that's nice. This slate does start a little earlier than most of the main slates at 6:40 though, so keep that in mind today. Overall, this slate is probably something I'm gonna play light on. Pitching is absolutely abysmal, and so it's definitely gonna be a hitting slate, and it's gonna be probably somewhat difficult in general. So let's go ahead and get into our pitchers here. So Hunter Brown is the top pitcher by quite a bit. He's got good upside. He's had some really good games lately. He hasn't got the highest ceilings though, so keep that in mind. And he doesn't have the easiest of matchups either against Kansas City, a team that he has struggled against already this season. The first time he played them, he had 9 earned runs and no strikeouts. So he's definitely in a high risk kind of situation, but he definitely looks at the best option on this entire slate, which is pretty crazy. Looking at two other options that have some extreme GPP play, Charlie Morton, tough match against Philadelphia this season. Uh, right here, obviously these teams are fighting it out, but he's been pitching decently well. He does have a low floor, but he does have a decent ceiling, so he's definitely worth a look. Uh, Bowden Francis for Toronto also looks somewhat interesting today. He has struggled against Boston in the past, though, so keep that in mind. But he is capable of a decent game here, as he has a high ceiling that he's hit the last 3 or 4 games. Though I just don't expect that strikeout stuff to continue at that level. So I'm a little concerned that will have some return to normal today, especially against a Boston offense that's been pretty hot lately. Then Singer, Crawford, and Miller kind of are bust plays. They all kind of have high risk situations. And then Sanchez is kind of a Hail Mary play today. He does have some potential, and he's cheap, which definitely gives him some upside here. And he had a good game against Atlanta the last time he paid them. So he's definitely capable of a decent game, but he's, somewhat risky as Atlanta is starting to see. Seems like they are hitting the ball a lot better lately. That definitely gives him some upside. Gives him a cause for concern, I should say. So he is a Hail Mary play, though. Looking at catchers today, so Will Smith jumps off the page as the top overall play. He's got very good hitting metrics and home run upside today. He's probably one of the better overall plays on the entire slate. Even though he has struggled a little bit lately, he has some nice upside if he draws a start. Travis d'Arnaud is also interesting for Atlanta today, as he's been really hitting the ball better recently, and he has some nice potential today on this one, especially a positive matchup for him. Connor Wong is a good contrarian play at this position as well, as he's been hitting the ball a little bit inconsistently, but he definitely has some potential today. Adley Rutschman, Will Smith, and Travis d'Arnaud will be the top ownership at this position. Looking at first base, I do have Bryce Harper as a core play. He looks like he's just primed for a home run today. He's been hitting the ball fairly well lately. He hasn't had a home run in quite a little while, since the 9th of this month. So I look for him to really come out swinging today, and he's going to need to help Philly win this game. Excuse me. Um, I like him a lot here. Otani does have has okay metrics today. It's not as good as it's been, so do keep that in mind. But he obviously is a home run threat every time he comes up to bat. And then Tristan Casas is a kind of good contrarian play at this position. Not super ideal with this price point, but he definitely has some potential for a good game today. Otani, Bryce Harper, Ryan O'Hearn, and Kiki Hernandez will be the top ownership at this position. Looking at second base, Altuve does jump off the page as a really solid option today. He's been hitting the ball pretty well lately. He has some nice upside as a result. Uh, he's also done okay against Kansas City this season already, and he has that good potential today. Miguel Garcia is kind of a one-off guy for Kansas City today. He's had really good opportunities against Houston before, and he's done well in those games. He's also been hitting the ball well pretty lately, so he definitely has some nice upside as a result. Bryson Stott is a little bit cheaper, and he's kind of a little bit of a decent play here. He has had a lot of games against Atlanta, which he's done fairly well, and he has some nice potential today. He's also got stolen base upside today, so he's definitely worth a look from that perspective. A couple other guys you could choose as kind of a Hail Mary plays is Gasper for Boston and Will Wagner for Toronto, as they are both dirt cheap and have some potential. But the ownership here will be Whit Merrifield, Chris Taylor, and Bryson Stott. So it's definitely a position you can pay down at, especially on a slate that doesn't have a lot of value across the board. Looking at third base, if Devers was to play today, then he'd be somebody I would consider. He has uh, got good home run metrics for this game. He's definitely worth a look from that perspective. Alex Bregman also looks good here for Houston. He's really been pretty good lately, and he's got some nice upside in this matchup. Uh, and so I do think he is a good option on the slate. As for the ownership at third base, Chris Taylor, Kiki Hernandez, Addison Barger, and Alec Boom. Looking at shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr. does have some good one-off opportunity here as a good home run hitter. He's been hitting the ball extremely well lately. He's definitely worth a look. Tommy Edman is a cheap play that can also play in the outfield. Even though he hasn't done much yet in his first few games, he definitely has some potential here to have a good game. And he's been getting fantasy points. He just hadn't hit a home run or anything. The ownership at this position, Tommy Edman, Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt, and Trey Turner. Also, Miguel Rojas for the Dodgers has some utility here as well. Looking at outfielders, Jordan Alvarez, Mookie Betts, Jaron Duran, and then Toscar Hernandez are my top four overall plays at this position. They're fairly expensive, but you can, the way these pricing and stuff works today, you can definitely fit one of those guys into your lineup. And so I definitely recommend trying to get one of those guys in. I like Alvarez, then Duran, then Betts, then Toscar in that order. As for some other options, Kyle Schwarber, Wilyer Abreu for Boston, Jorge Soler for Atlanta, Dalton Varsho, for Toronto, and then Tommy Edman. I cannot type today. Sorry. Tommy Edman for the Dodgers can fit in here as well. Ben Gamel is a nice cheap option that you could potentially put in at $2,400 if he draws the start for the outfield. As the ownership for this position will be Tommy Edman, Mookie Betts, Otani, Jordan Alvarez, Eloy Jimenez, and Ryan O'Hearn. Some other guys, Toscar, Addison Barger, Colton Counter, Ben Gamel, Ramon Laureano, Jorge Soler. So overall, I am playing light on the slate, but I do think it's a decent slate. Hopefully it turns into some wins. We did get some good wins yesterday, so hopefully we can continue that again today. Thank you guys for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments, questions,